What's up, guys? So the topic of today's video is a carry permit. My wife, which clearly you read the title, that's why you clicked on the video, right? To hear all about it. My wife got her carry permit, finally. So here in Pennsylvania, the state that we live in, we have an option for a concealed carry permit. I want to say that I heard years ago, because we have the Second Amendment in America, every single state has to offer either open carry without a permit, or at least the option to have a concealed carry permit. Now, the details of those things are obviously different from state to state, but pretty much anywhere you live in America, you have an option of some way to carry a firearm. Now, places like, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know all the details about these laws and stuff. This is just a collection of information, little bits here and there I've heard over the years. But I lived in New Jersey, for half my life, and that is a horrible state to be in if you're pro-gun. It's, almost impossible to be able to carry a gun like you can in many other states. Obviously, California, New York State, Massachusetts. I have a very good friend I talked to on Instagram who lives in Mass, and some of the stuff he tells me is phenomenally ridiculous. I had no idea how hard it is to be a gun enthusiast and human being who likes the rights in Massachusetts. And there's many other states as well, but those are some of the more notable ones. So, Connecticut. I have to throw Connecticut out there just because I do travel there as well, and I want to get my carry permit there, but I don't have the time or the money right now to even get that ball rolling. So yeah, some states have more restrictions than others. Pennsylvania is fantastic overall. We have the castle doctrine here. We have your stand your ground laws. So all those, if you don't know what that is, of course you can look that stuff up, but it's just important to understand, especially if you own a firearm, what your rights are. Your rights to possess it, to have it out in public, how to carry it, what to do, things like that. It's important to be a good law-abiding citizen. That's what we do, right? We abide by the laws and do the right thing. So, that being said, in Pennsylvania, you can open carry a firearm if you'd like with no permit, okay? Pistols, you have to be 21 years or older in order to even own a pistol or access pistols. I believe it's over 18 years old for rifles, okay? It's not very common for an 18-year-old to openly carry a rifle, although it is legal, all right? Now, you have certain laws, and then you have other laws that may contradict that. I'll give you a great example. If I took an AK-47 and I put it on my back, fully loaded, and I walked down the street where I live, okay, or anywhere, walked in front of Walmart, walked down the highway. Well, you can't walk down the highway, that's illegal. But, anywhere out in public with an AK loaded up on my back, tactical vest filled with magazines. That is a legal right. I could legally walk around and carry that rifle. However, disturbing the peace is illegal, among many other laws. So although there's people on YouTube who do stuff like that, they'll open carry an AR or something down the road and cause a ruckus. They might have the right to do that, but people will call the police because people don't know the laws. A lot of people have no idea what it's like, as far as gun laws go and what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And keep in mind too, if you live outside the U.S. and you're watching this video right now, understand that the United States of America is not like, the Old West. There are millions of people who don't like guns and don't carry them. So I know, I talk to some people from different countries and they're like, wow, you Americans and your guns. No, it's like just some Americans. So, there's a lot of us, but there's still plenty of people who have never even seen a real gun outside of maybe on a police officer's belt. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like the gun culture is not in every American life, okay? Could not be further from the truth. So that's one thing I wanted to point out, because a lot of people don't realize that. Not everyone in America has guns. There's people who absolutely hate them. There's people who've never seen them. They have no idea how to use them. They're scary, scary things. but some of us, recognize that they're just tools. So anyway, going back to your right to walk down the street with a loaded rifle. Yeah, that's cool and everything, but when you get like 20 people calling the cops will show up. They will harass you in most cases, even if they're, not breaking the law as far as detaining you or stopping you or asking for information. And you see these videos where people really, really push their buttons. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't really support that. I support your freedom, but I don't support starting something. And come on, we know what that's like. Even the most pro Second Amendment guys, like, really? You're really gonna do that? What, to make what point? You know what I mean? You're just starting a ruckus. So I don't think that's necessarily a great idea. But it's your right to do it. However, it contradicts other laws. Like I said, disturbing the peace. So if a bunch of people in your neighborhood don't like you walking around with a gun, you are disturbing the peace. So technically, you're breaking a different law. Even though what you're doing is legal, it's causing a problem. I did tell a story, I believe, years ago when I had a Glock. I want to say it was a Glock 17, and it was in a chest rig because I was jogging. I was walking. Let's be honest, I wasn't jogging at the time. I was trying to lose weight, but I was walking all around the neighborhood and stuff, and people saw me, and they saw the gun very clearly visible on my chest. And the reason I went with the chest rig is because I'm wearing like basketball shorts, you know, boxers, socks, and a t-shirt. Okay, where am I going to put my gun? I'm not going to carry concealed when I'm working out. I had the cops called on me. There were several people in the neighborhood who called the cops, said there's a large man. There's an overweight man in the street with a gun. And people were scared. So about 3 squad cars rip up on me, you know, lights flashing, give me the little like siren, you know, burp, 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 whatever they do to get your attention. And so I stopped. I put my hands up in the air because I have a gun visible on my chest. I don't want to, you know, look like I'm trying to grab it or anything. So my hands are in the air. Cop gets out. Well, several cops get out, but the one cop comes over to me and says, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, I was doing okay until you guys rolled up." And I was very nice, you know, I was courteous and talking to him. He said, "Yeah, you know," he said, "You know, Pennsylvania, you can openly carry a firearm. You're not doing anything illegal. Just want to let you know that you know, people have called us. They're concerned about what you're doing out here. So we'd like to ask you what you're doing." And I told him, I said, "Well, I'm exercising." And he said, "Well, it's not common to exercise with a firearm." And I said, "No, probably not. But I chose to do that. And I chose to do that because last week I was exercising like this and I saw a black bear. And it was a fairly large bear, and I was walking like, I don't know, 60 or 70 yards away. And I just felt like in case I come across another bear like that and my life, you know, gets in danger, I'd like to be able to defend myself." And he said, "All right, well, you know, it's a logical reason." Not that I needed a logical reason, but he said, "All right." He said, "Well, just to let you know, if you decide to do this again, walk around the block with your gun, exposed like this, that people will probably call us again. There's a possibility, we have to check up on these calls." He said, "It's part of our job." And he was very nice. He explained the whole thing, like, they call us, we got to come out. We're not trying to harass you, even though what you're doing is kind of weird to most people. You're allowed to do it, but just so you know, if you roll up again, that's why. And he said, "I would recommend you finding some way to conceal carry." He said, "You're all about your rights. You can absolutely have a gun, but to keep everyone calm and stuff, try to hide it if you can." And I said, "All right, well, thanks for the advice. I might consider that." And that was it. And they left. And since then, I haven't open carried too much. I carried my revolver with the same chest rig, the same maker, but obviously different rig for it. I did that a few times as well, but I did that in like the fall where I had a fleece jacket that was covering it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just open like that. So yeah, I mean, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong, you can definitely start something, and I'm not here to start stuff. I just, I felt like I wanted at the time. In the back of my mind, I thought, maybe this is going to be an issue, and it turned out to be an issue, but it wasn't that big of an issue, So, going around to the beginning again, my wife, because that's what it's about. It's not about me, it's about my wife. She got her license to carry, her carry permit in Pennsylvania, concealed carry. So, backing up the story a little bit, ever since we met, of course, the second we started dating, I started talking about gun stuff. I told her I was very into guns and carry a gun. I asked her thoughts and opinions on that stuff. She said, "Oh, cool, whatever." She didn't care either way. She wasn't like intimidated by it or weirded out. She wasn't scared by it. I believe her exact response was like, "Oh, as long as you're safe with it, And so she was cool right off the bat. She's like, "Yeah, whatever, that's cool." I'm sure as a woman, and I'm only guessing because I'm not a woman, but I'm assuming if you're a woman and you're with a man and that man is armed, there might be a little bit of extra security there just in case something happens. But, it depends on the woman and it depends on the man. There might be that same scenario where there's a woman and the guy and she knows her guy is kind of a hothead. So maybe she doesn't like the fact that he carries a gun because maybe he can start something and change their life forever. And then maybe there's a really awesome guy with a gun, and then the woman's just not into it, and she's like, I don't like it. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous thing. So there's lots and lots of people with lots of different opinions, and everyone's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. But I got extremely lucky in that my wife's awesome and very understanding and logical. And so pretty early on in our relationship, knowing that I carried and stuff, she got into it. She's like, you know what, maybe I should carry too. You never know. We're not always together, you know what I mean? So like she felt extra secure. I'm a big guy. I feel like I can defend myself without any weapons in a lot of different scenarios. Not every scenario, obviously. I'm not, Rambo or some kind of macho man or anything like that. But I feel like I can hold my own if need be. And if I do fight, I fight dirty. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in a boxing or anything. There's no rules there. I'll definitely be fighting as dirty as possible to win. I have no shame in that. But there's those scenarios where maybe you're dealing with someone who's on drugs or someone who is really desperate, and like, who knows? There's a million different reasons why you may or may not decide to carry a firearm, right? Doesn't matter how strong you are, you're not faster than a bullet, and you're definitely not, quicker than a sharp edge. So those are considerations for some people. And I understand a lot of people watching the video have restrictions. You just cannot have a gun, no matter what, where you live. It's just not possible. Maybe you're too young. Maybe there's crazy laws where you are, where you can't access one, even though you are an adult. Whatever the case is, I feel for you, because everyone should have the right to defend themselves as best as possible. And that's really what it comes into. People talk about, I'm not going to get in a whole soapbox about the Second Amendment and our rights, but I see it very black and white. There's a lot of bad people in this world. Okay, I live in America, and there's a lot of bad people with guns. And if someone who's bad wants to hurt me or my family with a gun, I don't want to try to throw punches at it. Do you know what I'm saying? I want the equal force to end that situation as quickly and as efficiently as possible. That's why I choose to carry a gun. Okay, it's really that simple. And I tell the story all the time, but when I went for my carry permit, I just, kind of casually asked the woman, like, well, how long does this take? She's like, oh, maybe a month or so. And I'm like, oh, well, how many people apply? And she told me, like, whatever it was, 150, 200 people at the time. I don't remember the exact number. But I was shocked. I could not believe that every single month there was 100 plus people in my county. This is my county. It's not my state. It's not the country. I had no idea how many people where I lived walked around with guns. And it's like flashing in my mind, like, okay, I'm at Walmart. I'm at Target, I'm at the mall or something. I'm walking by, 30, 40, 50, 100 people around me all are packing. I wanted a gun even more, and then it goes back to the original idea. Other people have guns, I want a gun. Something bad starts going down. We live in a weird world now, and I want to be able to efficiently defend myself. Now, with that being said, I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying? It's very situational, but I would say most times something goes down where I need a gun, I'm getting out of there. I'm getting my wife out of there. I'm getting out of there. I'm not taking that chance. But there are very specific scenarios where I feel like I would have to do what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? But it's just giving yourself a fighting chance. It is the ultimate equalizer. When that young, very fit man wants to rob the 85-year-old woman, she can't physically defend herself, okay? But if she has the strength in her pointer finger to do that, now all of a sudden she's stronger than that guy. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and again, there's unjustifiable gun use as well. There's times where people pull a gun, they should absolutely never have done that. And it's all about equal force, not greater force. You know what I'm saying? If someone's punching you in the face, you either just take it, or punch them back. You don't pull a weapon on an unarmed person. But again, there's specific scenarios where maybe it's justified, maybe it's not. That's up to you. But most times it's not. But there is a responsibility when you start carrying a gun. And, this is something I went over with my wife too, is, now that I've carried a gun for years and years now, I avoid situations that before I may not have avoided. You have an extra responsibility to not start something. It's just so important to realize that, because things can escalate like that. All right. And you do not want to be, in jail because of a dumb decision. So at this point, my wife's like, okay, I want to get my own gun, and I want to start carrying. And looking at different guns, she actually picked a Kimber. She picked a Kimber 1911 in 9mm. Their Ultra Carry 2, I believe. And fantastic gun. It's shot beautifully. but it's not a great carry option for her because it's bulky and it's heavier. So eventually, she wanted to get something that was more pocketable, you know, something that was simple. She get a little holster inside the waistband. Possibly carry it in the purse sometimes. That gets tricky because your purse has to be on your person all times. You can't just let it, you know, sit down for a minute and walk away for a second. You can't do that. You can't have your gun out of your sight no matter what. But she wanted to go small. So she ended up with a Glock 42. There's a lot of consideration going back and forth between 9mm and 380, and she was comfortable with 380. She shoots 380 a lot better. We both ended up going to the gun shop together before the pandemic hit, and I got myself a Glock 43 because I was interested in a pocket gun, which is beautiful for that, by the way. I love the 43, but I have to say, like, at the time, I didn't really like the 48, and I didn't like the 43X. Looking back, I probably could have got the 43X and would have been just as fine, just with a better grip. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? Maybe in the future I'll end up with a 43X. But long story short, I got the 43. She got the 42. We shot them. We both loved them. We swapped guns. I shot hers. It was okay, but it was definitely, for me, it seemed a little more, I don't know, it was harder to grip because it was that much smaller, which is strange because like I shoot my Kel-Tec P3AT, which is even smaller, but that has like insane grip on it, which is not super comfortable, but it's not jumping around your hand. So I found that the 42 had a little bit more recoil because I couldn't get as good of a grip on it, and she felt the opposite. She felt the 43 was too snappy for her. So it worked out great. She shoots the 42 fantastic. I'm really actually shocked at how accurate she is with her gun, which is a great thing. And occasionally we do still go actually shoot and practice and familiarize ourselves with our guns again. You can't really, I mean, do whatever you want. Don't just take my advice. But I feel like if you have a gun and you carry it, you should shoot at least a handful of times a year. You know what I'm saying? Don't shoot a box of 50 rounds and then just sit on your gun in your pocket for the next 10 years. You know, you have to familiarize yourself. You have to remember what it feels like. You have to remember what it sounds like. You know, I'm not saying lose your hearing, but 1 or 2 shots, shoot without earmuffs. So you know, because guess what? You're not going to have earmuffs, and in some cases you might not have eye protection, all these different things in a real life situation. You're like, oh, hold on, buddy. I know you want to stab me in my throat, but let me just go ahead and get my earmuffs on. Okay, that's nice and snug right there. Let me just do a little press check. Okay, all right, here we go. On 3. No, clearly it doesn't work like that. It's a very quick, violent thing. It's over before you even know what happened. So I personally like to practice some realistic scenarios like that. Everyone knows, you know, dry firing, drawing, that's the biggest thing. Practice your draw. So it's like, you know, second nature to take that gun out wherever it is and get on target as soon as possible. But I do these things with Christina, and she's really into it and stuff. So we buy our guns, and she wants to go get her carry permit, and the pandemic hit, like immediately. Like we bought guns a week, maybe no, I think it was 2 weeks before like the first lockdown. Do you know what I'm saying? It was that insane, and we got extremely lucky in that timing. However, what was unlucky is that Christina couldn't get her carry permit because the sheriff's office was like short staffed. I don't think they actually closed down, but they didn't do permits at the time. They were focused on other crap. So yeah, it took months and months and months, and here we are like a year later, and she's been trying this whole time, and they finally opened back up. And once they opened back up, they were backlogged, so she still had to wait a little bit. But a couple days ago, she went and she got it. So I want to talk about it real quick in case you happen to live in Pennsylvania or you're curious about Pennsylvania. This, what we're staring at this whole time, by the way, is a sheet of paper she gave, the person at the sheriff's office gave my wife to read. They give to everyone. So in Pennsylvania, in order to get your open carry permit, you do nothing because there is no such thing. You can openly carry if you're a Pennsylvania resident and over 21 years old. Okay, that means that your gun has to be visible at all times. I don't really recommend open carry. It's for some people, I guess, but I just think it's asking for attention you don't need. I prefer to conceal carry, and so does my wife. So in order to get a concealed carry permit in Pennsylvania, you have to be over 21. You have to not be a felon, the same things as if you wanted to buy a gun. And you have to have 2 references. 2 people you're not related to that you think trust you to have a gun. Because obviously you're not going to pick people who don't like you. You're going to pick 2 of your friends, 2 of your, I don't know, people you work with, whatever the case is, what everyone does. And what happens is the sheriff's office contacts those 2 people and says, hey, is this person that said that you're friends with them or whatever, do you think they should have a gun? And if both people say yes, you go into the sheriff's office, you give them $20, and they give you a permit for 5 years. It's that simple. It really is. Now, when I did my carry permit, I had to give the, all the information for my 2 references, and they mailed them a letter. And the letter basically had like one question on it. Hi, we're contacting you from the sheriff's office because Jeff Smith, your friend, said that he wants to carry a gun concealed. And the question on the bottom is, do you think that's a good idea? Can Jeff Smith be trusted with a gun? And there's literally a checkbox, like yes or no. And if they hit yes, both people mail that back. The sheriff's office sees both of those letters and says, okay, we're going to give Jeff one. And that's how it worked. But now I think they called. It was even faster. This literally happened within like 3 days. She applied online to make it easy. She didn't have to go in. She applied online and she gave the reference information. And I think the next day they called both references. They said, yeah, sure, she's cool. And then the 3rd day she got a call back to set an appointment to come pick up her permit, to get a picture taken and a permit. The permit in Pennsylvania is good for 5 years. Every 5 years it has to be renewed. And it was $20. $20 exactly. On the nose. Check or money order. Or excuse me, money order or cash. No check. I don't think there's a check available. So she went in with $20 cash, and that's it. So now she's got her carry permit, so she can carry anywhere in Pennsylvania that she can legally do so. Obviously no schools, courthouses, things like that. So yeah, they gave this paper, which I wanted to briefly go over. I'm just a bag of wind. I've just been talking and talking. But hopefully you guys find this interesting. So right here is the 4 universal rules of firearm safety. You guys should know that. I'm not going to go over that. That is such a known thing. But if you're not into guns, you should read this, read that, and that. Okay. And then this was interesting. The quick tips and important information. Okay. So these are just bullet points. Number 1, learn how to safely and properly handle your firearm. The law does not require such training, so it is your responsibility to acquire it. So people who are not into guns, oftentimes, or actually even some people are into guns, really, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. A lot of people have the same opinion of, well, if you could buy a gun, you should be forced to get training. That should be a law. You should be trained in that gun so you don't have accidents. Well, in some places they do that, in some places they don't. Pennsylvania, they do not require any kind of training. Okay? You do not have to be trained to use or to buy a gun. You can buy and own as many guns as you want. Is it a good idea? Sure, absolutely it's a good idea, but it's not a requirement. Okay, we have a little bit more freedom here. If you just want to buy a gun, keep it in the drawer, and not know how to use it, that's your prerogative. Okay, but I do feel like you should definitely educate yourself, especially if you're going to get something like a firearm. But anything can be said, like we require a license to drive a car. That's a dangerous thing. I don't know if there's a license to use like a backhoe. That could be life-threatening. You can kill someone with a backhoe quite easily if you don't know what you're doing. There's a million different things, different ways you can hurt people and kill them on accident. They don't require licenses or permits or training. So, take that with a grain of salt. As far as other laws in Pennsylvania with guns, we don't have a cool down period. In some places, when you purchase a gun, you can't physically get that gun for like 30 days. Okay, and that's supposed to prevent crimes of passion. So let's say your neighbor came over and kissed your wife on the mouth and kicked your dog. Okay, you can't just go to the gun shop, buy a gun, and go and shoot him. They're going to give you 30 days before they actually allow you to have the gun so that you can cool off. Hey, buddy, I know what you're thinking. Just calm down, cool off. You got to wait 30 days before we give you this gun. We don't have that in Pennsylvania. In fact, I think I did a video once when I was picking up a gun, and I went in there and I left 5 minutes later. 5 minutes is all it took to legally purchase a gun in Pennsylvania. I think that is a good thing. Some people might be watching and shaking their head and say, that's horrible. That is preposterous. But I am very extreme when it comes to gun freedoms. If it was up to me, well, there wouldn't be any of this. You just buy guns like you buy underwear, and there's other laws that will take care of business. It's still illegal to hurt people. It's still illegal to misuse a gun. It's still illegal to murder people. So, it is what it is. But I understand there's varying opinions on that. I just side on freedom and choice. That's what I prefer. But anyway, going back to these bullet points. All right, learn the laws pertaining to the use of deadly force. Super important. People make all kinds of assumptions. In Pennsylvania, interesting fact, if you take your gun out and shoot someone in the foot, it's no different than shooting them right between the eyes. If you shoot at someone, it's attempted murder. It doesn't matter if you hit their big toe or right between their eyeballs. Okay, that is attempted murder. Also, there's no such thing as a warning shot. You cannot scare someone by shooting into a tree or shooting into the dirt. It doesn't exist. If you pull the trigger and your gun goes off, that is still like attempted murder. Okay, it is no joke. Okay, there's no such thing as legal intimidation. If you want to intimidate someone, roll up your sleeves and show them the guns. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you actually take a real gun out, That's no bueno. You can't do that. Okay, so learn your laws. Super important. A lot of innocent people in jail because they thought they could legally defend themselves or do whatever they did, and it wasn't. So know what you're talking about, especially if you're going to go through the process of carrying a gun or even owning one. All right, unnecessary display of your firearm in public can cause alarm and adverse reaction by your fellow citizens and create situations that could result in revocation or revocation, obviously revoking of your permit. So that kind of goes with what I just said. Your permit does not exempt you from obeying local laws or ordinances governing the carrying of firearms. Okay, makes sense. Your permit is not, underlined, not valid in New York or New Jersey. For a list of reciprocating states, please visit such and such. Now, the Pennsylvania concealed carry permit is good in like 32 states. I don't know if that's the exact, but it's somewhere around there. It's all over the US, so it's really pretty amazing. I mean, I can travel to a lot of different places with my firearm and legally still conceal carry it, which is a very cool thing. I would love to have all 50 states. I don't. I know certain people like Steven Seagal, he's deputized. I think Ted Nugent, deputized, both specifically for one reason, so they can carry their guns in all 50 states. I believe they both actively do raids sometimes because it's like their obligation as well. But that's an interesting little fact I learned years ago. They did that on purpose so they can carry their gun anywhere in America. Pretty smart thing. But we're not, most of us watching aren't Ted Nugent and Steven Seagal, so we don't have that capability or interest really. So anyway, where are we on here? When not carrying a firearm, it should be securely stored and inaccessible to children and visitors. Yes, very true. A license to carry does not, capital letters, does not confer law enforcement powers. Anyone giving false impressions that they are armed in a law enforcement capacity will be subject to immediate license revocation and criminal prosecution. Don't pretend to be a cop just because you have a gun. Okay, that's dumb. And most important here, I don't think a lot of people even know this, okay? Alcohol, certain medications, and controlled substances should not be used when carrying a firearm. Seems logical, right? But here's the thing. You can legally have your gun concealed and you can walk into a bar and drink alcohol. That's legal. But the second you become intoxicated, the second you are legally drunk, having your gun is not allowed. Okay, and this is for common sense. Your judgment is impaired. They don't want people to be armed with impaired judgment. You don't want to be a fall over drunk with a loaded gun in your waistband. Okay, some people don't know that. They have no idea. They carry, they drink, they get drunk. It's a tricky thing. Like I said, with medicines, especially like marijuana. If you're in Pennsylvania, if you're a legal marijuana user and you have a medical card, because we don't have recreational yet. I say yet because that's just a matter of time. But let's say you have your medical marijuana card. Right? On a federal level, the state doesn't care. I don't believe the state cares at all, okay? But on a federal level, if you own firearms, okay, if you have a concealed carry permit and you have your medical marijuana card, that's a felony, okay? The federal government still considers marijuana to be a drug, an illegal drug, okay? I think it's a class 1 or whatever, class A, whatever it is. So that's also not good. Some people are kind of scared, like, oh, I have a medical card. I don't know if I can go legally buy a gun. You can. It's tricky because when you're filling out your form, it asks you, do you use marijuana or whatever? And if you say no, now you're lying on a federal document. That's a huge no. But there's no way for them to tell because your information being on a registered list for medical marijuana, it's separate. You know what I mean? It's not like your background check's going to say, well, I don't really know actually, to be honest, because I'm not a medical marijuana user, so I shouldn't really give advice or information on this. So I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that even if you're a registered marijuana user, they can't deny you purchasing a firearm, but they will deny you trying to get a concealed carry permit. That's what I heard. I don't know that for sure. Everything else I've said, I kind of know for sure, but everything can be taken with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to give legal advice whatsoever. This is just my experiences and information that's been gathered from various sources over the years. So yeah, that is pretty much it. If you guys don't know, I live in Pike County. We have a new sheriff. I mean, the old sheriff, Sheriff Buki, was just a really awesome guy. I had many conversations with him. I remember when I first got my carry permit, and I'm like, because they ask you, like, are you carrying for self-defense? Are you carrying for sport? Are you carrying for... He's like, put self-defense on there. I'm like, oh yeah, why? And he's like, well, be honest with yourself. Are you carrying for sport? No, you're carrying in case you need to use your gun. So put it on there. And I thought, all right, okay. And then he kind of went into like, okay, well, if you do, you need your gun for court. It's just a little bit better, I guess. So whatever. He was a cool guy, though. Totally down to earth, extremely pro Second Amendment. The new sheriff, Kerry Welsh, seems like a really nice guy. I didn't get to meet him personally, but I read some different things on him. Seems okay. You know, is what it is. But as far as Pennsylvania, like each county, the county sheriff's office are the people who deal with concealed carry permits. I don't know about other states. I don't know where you would go to apply. I don't know any of that information whatsoever. I'm just telling you my experiences. And yeah, it's been positive. It's been very easy to obtain because I'm a citizen that does the right thing. I don't break the law. I'm not a felon. Neither is my wife. So it was very reasonably priced. I think $20 for the, you know, the freedom to carry a gun concealed legally for 5 years. That's reasonable. You know what I'm saying? So that's cool. It's not like it's extremely expensive. There was no courses I had to go through, no extra money, no BS, red tape. It was simple. Hey, I want to carry my gun so no one can see it. Okay. Do you have 2 people who you know who think that's a good idea? Sure. All right. You got $20? Sure. There you go. There's your permit. It really was that simple. And I just love that there's more freedom here as far as pertaining to firearms, accessibility, things like that. You know, a lot of like gun laws, people don't understand. And there's literally thousands and thousands of gun laws on the books. Do we need more gun laws? No, we don't. But people who aren't into the gun scene, they don't realize that. It seems like a good idea. Oh, people are getting hurt. Well, we make some more laws. No. Clearly, the people who hurt other people don't follow the laws because it's illegal. It's illegal to shoot people for no reason. Okay, so no other laws are necessary, in my opinion, as far as that. But people just don't understand, like, you know, you could buy a fully automatic gun. You can buy a full auto M16. You can buy an Uzi if you want. There's more red tape to go through. You know, you have to be, you know, registered for that. You have to get, it's a class 3 weapon. It's extremely expensive, but people don't know that you can just get one if you want. If you don't have a bad history, if you're not a felon, you know, if you got $25,000 or $30,000, whatever ridiculous prices they are, but you could buy that stuff. We have accessibility to certain weapons that people don't even know are legal. But when you see like people using these weapons in crimes and stuff, they're using handguns. You know, statistically, most bad people doing bad things do them with handguns. They're not doing them with scary black AR-15s like the media wants to tell you. It's extremely rare, to be honest. Anyway, just wanted to kind of go over this subject a little bit. I thought it'd be interesting for some people. Maybe you don't know anything about guns or buying them or carrying them or anything like that. Every state has its own different laws. Sometimes even within a state, the cities have different laws than like the rural areas. But here in Pennsylvania, it's pretty pro Second Amendment. And, you know, you have a lot of freedoms when it comes to firearms. And I could not be happier with that. Like I said, growing up in New Jersey, I wasn't into guns. I didn't get into guns until I moved to Pennsylvania. If you haven't heard the story, when my grandfather passed away, my uncle took his guns, all the guns out of the house because my dad didn't want them at the house because no one was there. He didn't want them to be stolen. And eventually, when he brought them back, my uncle gave me my grandfather's little pistol, the Beretta Bobcat, a little tiny pocket pistol, shot 22 long rifle, and I fell in love. I fell in love shooting that thing, and that's the gun he had on him when we traveled all across the U.S., which I realize now was completely illegal. So, I mean, nothing's going to happen. He's passed away, but that was completely illegal. My grandfather definitely sided on the better to be, judged by 12 than carried by 6. And I always loved that saying as well. But he illegally carried that gun everywhere we went. I didn't know it at the time. I thought it was okay for him to do it. But as an adult now and knowing the laws a little better, no, it definitely was not. In fact, he didn't like using credit cards either. He had cash. So literally driving across America in a Pontiac G6 with a duffel bag with probably $15,000 cash, an illegal gun, and underwear. that was my grandfather, and I love him to death. But yeah, when I got his gun, I inherited that. I was hooked big time, and I haven't looked back since. I love firearms. I love it for the sport. I love the extra security, knowing that I have one in case something crazy happens. I hope to never use them ever on people. But it's just one of those things. I mean, I love it as a hobby, but it just brings me a lot of security as well. So anyway, that is all. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take Take care.